Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the frosty edition, because it's cold, of Impact on a Tuesday morning. I don't know when this winter is going to end. Mercy, mercy me. I don't remember it being this cold this late in the year, but maybe I say that every year. I don't know. It is my honor to be joined in studio by two guests this morning. We have with us Jen Kennett, who is here today. She wears multiple hats in the community, but today she's going to be talking from her Leadership Wood Buffalo perspective. And also a Leadership Wood Buffalo alum, but here with a slightly different hat, is Tinna Ezekiel, who is a social planner with the municipality, but she's also a mentor with MACOY. Now, if you don't know what MACOY is, let's see if I get it right. Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth. How'd I do?
You got it.
Excellent. I know it was created a long time ago. In fact, it was probably created when Guy Boudelier was mayor in the late 1990s. In fact, I know that's the case. And it's been around a long time. MACOY is an amazing group of young people that are on a leadership track of some kind. And I'm going to throw it to Jen to explain why we're here today about the connection between Leadership Wood Buffalo and MACOY.
Great. Thanks, Russell. So we're here today to talk a little bit about a partnership that forged this year between Leadership Wood Buffalo and MACOY. So from my knowledge, it isn't something that took place in the past, but I was a part of the 2017-2018 cohort for Leadership Wood Buffalo. And one of our action projects this year, we're given a choice of 10 of them, was MACOY. And it was kind of this mystery project put out there with, I guess, very little detail. And so my group thought, wow, that sounds really amazing to work with youth. And it gave us all this opportunity. So we chose MACOY as our partner and then kind of got to develop what it was going to look like. So we then petitioned MACOY and let them choose what they would like to do. They chose one of our remaining community action projects in the book, and we forged this, what I like to call a super group.
Okay, so, boy, this is confusing.
Sorry.
So that's all right. So I know all about the book and the choices because in Leadership Wood Buffalo Year 1, we had similar thing. Mm-hmm. We had to choose a project. So your project was to collaborate with this other group, which is MACOY. Yeah. And MACOY, maybe Tinna, you can answer this. Yeah, we know it's a group, but how many are in this group, and where do they come from? What is the age range?
That's a great question. So MACOY comes from all over Fort McMurray, and we have youth that are between grades 9 and 12. I think we had 88 applicants last year, and of those we picked 30, and we have 26 active members currently on MACOY. And I can speak a little bit about the MACOY Leadership Wood Buffalo fusion. When we, Nicole and I, so we're both the mentors at the RM who work with MACOY, when we started planning out this year, we knew that we wanted to take it up a notch. And one of the things that MACOY youth often talk about is that they want more mentors. They like to have adults in their lives to ask questions, to bounce ideas off of, to inspire them. And we thought, well, isn't it a natural fit for Leadership Wood Buffalo, who is mentoring adults and building their own leadership capacity, to also be connected? So pre-cohort, I think for both of the groups, we met with Jackie from Fuse Social, and we talked about what it would look like. So I think both of us were like, we want it to be optional. We don't want it to be forced. And lo and behold, they decided to work together, and they picked each other. And I think from our perspective, when we started talking about community projects, MACOY had 3 main ones, and I feel like the people that chose Leadership Wood Buffalo, like that was by far the most popular group. They were like, we want to work with them and we want to see what they have to offer.
That's amazing. I want to back up because you said that you have to apply to be a part of MACOY.
Correct.
Wow. What's the criteria?
So the criteria is that you are between grades 9 and 12, that you're active in the community. There's a paper or online application, asks a couple questions. We also want to measure your commitment to the group, because if we pick you over somebody else, it means they don't get a spot. And we ask you to talk to us about what their interests are, what their goals for the future, specific to Wood Buffalo. What are some things that they're passionate about? We give them the dates in advance and ask if they can commit, and then we sit down and go through a matrix and decide who's available, and then we do callbacks and let them know. But for the youth that aren't picked, we do typically keep an email list because MACOY does a lot of volunteer opportunities, and those youth that aren't picked for this year can also be part of the volunteer opportunities if they so choose.
In a way, it mirrors Leadership Wood Buffalo, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's almost exactly the same. Okay, so now you've come together. You have a group of kids, really engaged students. You have a group of adults. Your group, Jen, how big?
4 of us.
4 of you.
Yep.
Who is in the group?
So there's myself, Vanessa McNevin, who is a manager at Boys and Girls Club. Sorry, nope. She's going to
Wrong
for
club.
that. For Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Okay.
Then we have Jennifer Burke. There's 2 Jens in our group. She is a leader out at Suncor. And then we have Melissa Herman, who is,
one of my favorite
absolutely just one of those
What a great
right
group.
fighters.
Okay, so you have your group, you have the kids, you come together. What did you decide to do, your action learning project?
Yeah, so the youth chose the project, and they chose to run a campaign for Canadian Mental Health Association. So what that entails is creating a video from the youth lens on mental health and the stigmas in the community. So all on their own with our support and mentorship, this group has created this awareness campaign that is we're going to be videoing it within the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be launching in Mental Health Week, which will be declared, I think it's the second week of May.
Yeah.
And they've developed a hashtag. So I'll share the hashtag is perfection is perception is their hashtag. So what they're highlighting is just that pressure on youth to be perfect, and how people visualize someone as perfect and really not seeing what's happening below the surface. And it really doesn't allow people to talk about their mental health struggles when they have to fit that mold of perfection, especially in youth. And even within our group, we have these amazing individuals. They are so driven, and they're high achievers. They're in AP everything, and
AP?
I don't. What does it mean? It means advanced something, advanced program or something.
Okay.
Yeah, they do all these high level, ready to fly in their lives, and they're stressed. There's a lot of pressure on them. So even they're opening up about their struggles and the things that they're seeing in their high school, and it's just a lens that a lot of organizations aren't offered. There's a lot of programs for younger kids. There's a lot for adults, and that teen, they just sometimes get missed. So it's a really interesting lens that just isn't offered.
But I imagine probably the most important thing about the project is expressing their feelings around mental health, but with their voice.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they really want to make it comfortable to have that conversation. Yeah. It's so cool.
Very awesome. Tinna, with the mentorship that you do with young kids, as Jen pointed out, these are oftentimes high achievers. Do they talk about the challenges openly, or is it something you have to push them a little bit on?
I think with this group, you're correct in that you have to get to know them first. There's this kind of natural process of relationship building where they're testing you and seeing how far they can trust you. And so once you kind of lay that groundwork that you will answer their questions honestly, and that they can come and ask whatever they want, that they do open up. But I do think that they do need a little bit of prodding. Most of them are a little bit shy, even despite the fact that they're really smart, amazing youth. And they do need that kind of, I think, that trust first, to know that they can ask questions that are real and that they can be unsure about things, because I think in terms of their academics and a lot of the projects that they do, they have to be so sure and they are on top of their game. But a lot of the questions that they ask are really human. I think one of them is they'll talk about work-life balance. If you are, if you want to become a doctor or lead an organization. And so it's really interesting to see that they're already thinking about that perspective, even at such a young age.
So you said that the video is going to be happening in the next little while here. Mm-hmm. Are you meeting with each other on a regular basis, Jen?
Absolutely. So we meet at their scheduled MACOY meetings. They do also meet with us outside of their scheduled meetings, which has been an interesting approach because we do always have to take into account that we're dealing with the vulnerable sector. So there's some scheduling and public, you want to make sure you're in a public place and everything for protection. And then they've been doing this amazing work on their own, and they keep bringing it back. And as Tinna said, our relationship, we've been working on it since October. One of the commitments that our group made was that we would continue with the group after we graduated from Leadership with Buffalo, which we did in January. So I found that to be a huge pivotal part in our relationship and building that trust, knowing that they weren't a project to us, that it was much more than that. And man, we've just seen them soar from there.
Oh, sounds so exciting. My guest this morning, Jen Kennett, representing Leadership with Buffalo. She also works with the United Way. She's the Community Impact Coordinator over there. And our friend Tinna Ezekiel, who is a mentor with MACOY, the Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth, and she's a social planner with the RMWB. When we come back, I want to ask Tinna and Jen about what we saw south of the border and in many cities in Canada a couple of days ago when the youth rose up and had their voices heard in the millions, and what potential impact that had on the young people here in Fort McMurray. This is Impact. It is a team effort of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray, YMM Magazine, and our friends here at 91.1 The Bridge. Welcome back to the show. Today's topic really is the collaboration between Leadership with Buffalo and MACOY, which is the Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth, and seeing what amazing potential our young people have in this community, but in communities all over the world. And this past week, we saw millions of young people rise up and have their voices heard, attempting to change some of the gun laws down in the United States. And I have to say that, I don't even remember what day it was, but I had chills watching little snippets of it, and young Martin Luther King Jr.'s granddaughter get up there at the age of 10, I think, and just, wow, she had the whole crowd of 1 million people chanting. I was so proud and hopeful. And I'm wondering, from your perspectives, working very closely with young people who are super engaged here in Fort McMurray, if you have any sense of how they reacted, or perhaps a different question would be the potential that they have to change the world.
I think it's really unlimited, actually. When we have mentors come in, or even people to do presentations, it always happens at the end that they're like, I cannot believe how smart these youth are. I can't believe the questions they asked. They can keep people on their toes. They definitely have done that. And when they talk really like informally about things that they've already accomplished, creating apps, helping run more efficient systems, questioning things. Many of them are on MACOY. They're high academic achievers, but they also do other things like run on student council, write on the side, do artistic endeavors. And so I feel like when I'm in that room that I'm just witnessing these amazing people grow, and I have no doubt that they're going to do things to change the world.
Jen?
Absolutely, yeah. I absolutely mirror exactly what you're saying. And there's a story that comes to mind when we were meeting with one of our youth, and the voices that they have and the experiences that they've had. So one of our youth, we were sitting at a table with an executive director, actually for the Center of Hope, which is really cool because that's not really an opportunity the youth would get ordinarily. And so we're talking about a plan of action, because that's something that they want to focus on as well, like maybe down the road is homelessness and stigma and that as well. We're having good conversations. And so one of the youth is talking about a trip that she took with the United Nations. And I can't remember where she said she went. It was in Africa, I believe. And she's talking about like the 8 governing somethings of the United Nations. And she's like, oh, do you know those 8 things? And I'm like, no, like I didn't know. And she's like, oh, it's fine. I didn't know about it before I went either. I was like, okay, thanks, 15-year-old. Like, thank you. It's just the worldliness that they have already. And they are absolutely the people who are going to change the world. And hopefully starting in the municipality and starting in the Wood Buffalo region, that would be amazing if they'd stick around and maybe help be those future leaders here. But regardless, I think they're going to have success wherever they go.
Yeah, I had an experience with Aniri, who I think is a member of MACOY as well. So she came in and did some work with us at United Way when I was still there. I think she was in grade 10, maybe the summer of grade 10. And she had never touched graphic design software. Well, within 2 minutes, she was doing stuff that took me 5 years to learn how to do, and without even missing a beat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then she started, you talk about apps, and she was coding something to solve a particular problem.
Wow.
Really remarkable. Well, anyway, I think I went into this week feeling incredibly optimistic based on what happened with the young people, and it's awfully amazing what you guys are doing. Now, if you're tuning into the show a little late, what's happening is Leadership with Buffalo, a cohort, one group, not a cohort, sorry, it's one of the groups within Leadership with Buffalo, is collaborating with MACOY, which is the Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth, which consists of about 26 young people in our community. And there's mentorship going on, and the youth are tackling a project to tell the story about mental health in our community with the Canadian Mental Health Association. And they're just sort of at the point now where they're working on getting ready to record a video. And do you have any sense at this early stage how they're going to execute? Like, is it a video? Is it a series of videos? And when will we be seeing this in the public?
Yeah, so it is one video with the intention of kind of teasing it out. So we would like to kind of give out snippets beforehand to gain some interest and whatnot. So it's going to be one kind of figure about like 3 to 5 minute video, and we should expect it at the beginning of Mental Health Week, which is the second week of May.
If you were going to prognosticate, you know that word prognosticate? I stayed up all night learning what that word meant. As to what we will hear and see, do you think you can do that? Or do you think, you know what, they're going to come up with something I hadn't even dreamed of?
Listening to them, so I had a meeting with them a couple weeks ago, and as I said, I start seeing those turning points. And I feel that they're comfortable with me, and they're starting, their personalities are showing. Sometimes we get the handshake, and sometimes you get the one of us, like me and one of the girls talked about, this is us, like we have those connections and just kind of fun conversations. But they just started talking about what they were going to do for the video, and just watching it like just develop in a room full of youth getting really excited about this project. So what I think we're going to see is probably going to be a little bracing in that we're going to see something we don't usually get that view into high school and really what's going on. You're a parent of teens. I'm sure it might be enlightening to see what actually happens outside the doors of your home, right?
Yeah.
When we can't be there as parents to take care of them, and I think it's going to really impress people and really just give them that view that they weren't privy to otherwise.
Do you feel the same way, Tinna?
Absolutely. I'm excited for all of the projects that we have coming forth. I know that we've talked a lot about the Leadership with Buffalo MACOY kind of fusion, that's what I call it. But we also do have one group working on, this is the 25th anniversary year of MACOY, and so they're planning what they think they want to do in the community. And then we have another group who their initial thought was that they wanted to be able to, like, a lot of focus is on sports in community, right? And they said, we want to focus on different things that youth are interested in. And the group, it's funny, it's kind of split between like really artistic kids and then kind of really
technical?
Yep.
Really good at coding kids. And they came up with an idea about, I think one of the words they were calling it is a hackathon, but I think it's even changed since then. And so they're trying to kind of create a space where people can be creative, but that creative doesn't necessarily mean playing a guitar or doing poetry.
Absolutely.
It can mean a bunch of different things. And also sharing skill sets that they have with other people. It's funny, like they are getting mentored, but they themselves are also mentors for their peers and for younger children. So I think I maybe got off the point of what you originally asked, but I definitely think that what MACOY can come up with is going to be kind of a surprise and an exciting new adventure.
I get the sense, Tina, you love your job.
I really love it.
I don't blame you. My guests this morning are Jen Kennett with Leadership with Buffalo and Tinna Ezekiel, who's a mentor with MACOY, the Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth. We're going to take a break and come back with more of Impact right after this. And good morning. Welcome back. Before I forget, next week we have a very special guest coming into the studio. David Yurdiga, our MP, our Member of Parliament, is going to be coming in. And I promise we're not going to talk politics or parties. We're going to talk about his life and how he got involved in public service and what it's been like. And he's just such a lovely guy. I've gotten to know him over the years. And so we're going to hear his story. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, really, just to talk about his life. So looking forward to that. But this week we have Tinna in with us. And Jen, Tinna is a mentor with MACOY, the Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth, and Jen Kennett works with the United Way, but she is also part of the Leadership with Buffalo group that is working very closely with MACOY. I'm very interested, Tinna, the name Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth suggests, at least in my mind, that there is some kind of relationship between the students and mayor and council. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, you would be correct to assume that. So this year we have something called Council's Corner. So this is kind of a new fusion. I like that word a lot, that MACOY has taken on. And so the last half an hour of every MACOY meeting, at minimum, there's an open invitation to all of mayor and council. And so the mayor has been there, I think, to every single one, with different council members kind of coming in as per their schedule allows. And sometimes we have like agenda items that we specifically address. I think next month we're doing the terms of reference, so that should be a fun treat. But sometimes we leave it really open. And I think the initial one was the mayor coming in and talking to MACOY. So one of the other things about MACOY that you may or may not know is that we don't really do things to them. We present options and then we ask them to kind of flesh out, is this even something you want to do? And if so, how would you like us to do it? So it takes a little bit more time, but we have so much more buy-in because they're part of the whole process. And I will say that mayor and council have been so supportive. And I think that when you are a public figure, you can be really intimidating to youth. I mean, they're intimidating to some adults. And so having people who, have won elections be in there and be really accessible to youth and ask them questions and actively listen to them and be involved has really made MACOY feel important and like their contribution is valued. And I know we have had some really big conversations about what it means to be a youth in the region. I know that mayor and council have expressed an interest to expand MACOY to make sure that we're inclusive of all of the community, and that MACOY themselves have been an active part of that process about brainstorming and imagining what it will look like. So yeah, they definitely are there, and we do get requests to get feedback from MACOY quite often from other departments on specific items they're working on.
Jeez, that's awesome. I'm really interested. We're almost out of time, but Jen, you're a mother. Mm-hmm. You have 2 kids?
2 daughters.
Two daughters. They're young,
yes,
but they will grow up.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested from your perspective as a participant in this process of collaborating with these young kids and being a mentor and watching them tackle a project. What has it meant to you personally?
Oh, man. This honestly has been just one of the best experiences that I've had. To create a relationship with youth that you aren't, I can't think of a word other than obligated to, was really powerful. Especially such a group such as this. And even just, I get to sit in the room with all of the youth during these MACOY meetings, and they all just impress me. It really gives me a lot of hope. And one of the things, as a mother of daughters, I love seeing a room full of women who are going to make change. And there's men in there too. There's young men, and they're wonderful. But for me, just knowing that there's those opportunities in our community that honestly, as a youth here, because I grew up here, I had no idea those things existed, and I don't think I had that at all at that point. So it gives me a lot of hope, and it's just been incredible.
Well, I know a couple of weeks from now, we're going to have, hopefully, and maybe this is the ask of me to both of you, that I really want to hear from one or several of the young people. And I know we're going to have
Absolutely.
Canadian Mental Health in the studio to talk about the project itself.
Yeah.
Super excited about it. But I really would love to hear directly from young people if it's possible, because I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Absolutely. I want them in this room because I think they're going to blow your mind.
Yeah. Love it. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for helping elevate the voices and the potential of our young people in this region. It's an awesome collaboration between Leadership with Buffalo and MACOY, and involving Canadian mental health. Well, win-win all the way around. You've been listening to Impact. It is a team effort of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray. Big thanks to Matt, who's here every week. Also, our friends at Your McMurray Magazine, or YMM Magazine, whichever way you like to call it. And of course, none of this would be possible without Steph pushing all the buttons here at 91.1 The Bridge.